Welcome this week at Missouri Politics from the State Fairgrounds in Sedalia. We are at the Governor Henry Caulfield building here with the 57th Governor of the great state of Missouri. Governor Parson, welcome back to the show.
Always good to be here, Scott.
I feel like this is kind of your home turf here when we're at the State Fair.
Yeah, it feels pretty comfortable. A lot of good people here. Got to meet, shake a lot of hands today, talk to a lot of people, just things going well.
Well, I know that this is a different feeling of the fair this year. We're not in the Coliseum. We're here in the Caulfield building. And I know that it had to be a tough decision for you to kind of scale things back because this has to feel like home for you.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. But the State Fair, to continue it on, I think was important, and to really make the decisions we had to make in the cause of safety. We did make sure we had to be as safe as we could to have the State Fair, to limit that crowd size, to limit the big events that we normally have here, but still really go to the basic fundamentals of the State Fair, and that's our youth. Having the youth be able to come in here, have the livestock in here where they can show. And I think as you walk around the grounds, you see so many people out there so happy that we're having the State Fair. You have kids coming up to you and thanking you for that. And again, and people just, again, go back to being responsible, and you had to limit it to where we could help them on that. But so far, things are going good. I think a lot of people out there anxious to show their livestock and continue to
Chin said exhibitors are up this year for the youth.
They are. You're going to see that a lot. I mean, people's been shut up for quite a while, and they're getting back out, and these kids have worked hard to bring their livestock, to show it and everything. It's really important. It's a family tradition, and it's good to have them all back here. And again, couldn't be more proud of the people here at the State Fair and what they do for the state of Missouri.
We talked about COVID. I think people's mind, to me, it goes, August turns the page. I start thinking about school. Then after the State Fair, I really start thinking about back to school. Right. Next week, my daughter Millie goes back to school. You've left it up to local school districts to decide how they're going to approach things. Are you confident about kids going back to school next week?
Yeah, I am. You always have concerns, whatever you do. When you're making decisions like I make, people ask me that all the time. The media will ask me, says, hey, are you concerned? Well, I'm concerned every morning when I wake up, of where we're going, dealing with this virus, dealing with the economy, opening school back up, civil unrest. All these things are on your plate every day. But the reality of it is I am very confident on the local levels to be able to handle this school situation. As I talk to administrators and I talk to teachers across the state, I think everybody wants these kids back in school for the most part, and they're prepared for that, and I'm confident of that. The one thing I think has been important to me the whole time, Scott, you have to let the local levels make those decisions. You've got elected board members, and they're going to know what's best for those families and communities. What I want to do is be the resource to give them what they need to get those kids back in there safely, to make sure the administration, the faculty, feels that they're in a good, safe environment, and we do the best we can to move forward.
I think some folks have taken some comfort in the consistency that you've had of letting local people make local decisions.
Right. I think that's important. I think fundamentally that's kind of where things should be. And when we believe in really the Constitution of where they originate, what we did over the years, we've actually put the federal government more in charge, and it was always supposed to be the local levels. Yeah. And if we're going to say that and talk that, you got to do that. And the other thing is, it's very difficult to make a statewide blanket policy that's good for all counties in the state of Missouri. I mean, you got St. Louis, Kansas City sitting up there on the edges of our state, and then you got so many rural counties, rural schools that are the heart and soul of that little community. So it's very difficult to make a decision that fits everybody.
Let's talk about special session. I've gathered you identified the problem in St. Louis has reached a point where it was crisis. It was extraordinary.
Right.
So you called an extraordinary session to talk about measures with crime. It's interesting. The legislature's had some different views, kind of went back and forth. Then you added the concurrent jurisdiction, which would be letting the Attorney General come in and take over some cases from the circuit attorney. What point did things go from this is a problem to this is an extraordinary crisis, we have to have a special session?
Yeah, I think the homicide rate, just above all, I think children getting killed, 3- and 4-year-old children getting killed in the streets in their own bedrooms. Look, we're better than that in Missouri. And not to give police officers, not to go out there and help those people. And it was just a matter of, we've had, I think, 168 homicides in St. Louis, another 130 in Kansas City. I mean, you've had bumping up to 300 in just those two cities. And to be honest with you, in just those two cities, there's been more homicides than there have COVID-19 deaths. So when you really take a look at that, that's how serious this is. Every day that goes by that we're not taking some sort of action or giving law enforcement the tools they need, somebody else is dying. And we got to do everything we can prevent that.
Tell me how this works, though, if this is a crisis. Is this a temporary thing as you see it? Is it always going to be the case? Because, I mean, I just kind of think that if Eric Schmidt came down here and got in Philip Sawyer's business in Pettis County, folks in here wouldn't like that. Is this a temporary thing? Is this going to be permanent?
Yeah, I think we really narrowed it down to where we really had the problem, and that was St. Louis City. I mean, that's just where the problem's at. You know, you've had 168 homicides there, 30 cases have been filed, and I want to make it clear because there's a lot of hype out there about this. The only time the AG would be able to come in there and support is once the local prosecutor didn't file charges after 90 days. So, and it's only for murder 1 and murder 2. That's the only 2 examples come. What we're basically doing says the state has more resources, we're willing to help on this. But what people are losing fact in is the victims that are out there. There's people out there that has no justice to what's happening in the streets every day. What we simply do is want to help with that situation, but the prosecutor up there can still file the charges. She's got 90 days to file them. If she doesn't, then we'd implement the Attorney General.
Let me ask you this. There's a lot of folks that have taken to the streets after George Floyd was killed, and they're Missourians too. Now, they may not, I doubt very many of them ever vote Republican. I doubt many of them ever come to the state fair, but there's a lot of your constituents that have taken to the streets. Can you really fix this problem by just from the law and order segment of it?
Well, I don't know that you can. No, I don't think you can just fix it by law and order. I mean, you got to fix the problem right now. Short term, you got to get as many boots on the ground, law enforcement that you can, and you probably got to go back to community policing, where we get more officers on the ground to develop relationship with the clergy, with the people in those communities, and really make an effort. I think that's long term. The long term solution, what I really believe, is through those children, early childhood development. How are you going to take a young child and give them the opportunity to get an education? How are you going to give them the ability to train them to go into the workforce of tomorrow? That's how you change it. That's long term, but you got to start that somewhere. And each year we go decade after decade after decade trying to do the same old things we've always done, and we end up with the same results.
It seems to me that approach is going to take 3 or 4 governors from now to see the benefits from it. Are you saying right now you're committed to helping get the resources to have that early childhood development? Some of those places where the crime is the worst, it's a very poor area.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, Scott. We've focused on that from day one. I've been to a lot of the area in St. Louis, Kansas City, working with the clergy, working with those Better Family Life, being up there when Grill for Glory, being in the streets where these people are at, and really seeing what those needs are. But we got to do a better job. We've been talking a good game for a long time, but really to get those services to those people, you're going to have to get on the streets where they live to provide that. But some governor's going to have to start that, and I believe I'll have the opportunity to do that. Just the situation I'm in as the next governor to really change that.
Here's the thing I've noticed. I know when you're talking about the biggest problem, this affects everybody. This affects Sedalia, this affects Clinton, Missouri. St. Louis is the economic engine of the state. It matters to everybody. I hear people that criticize your plan. I've not heard one single person have an actual plan to do anything about this besides you.
Yeah, look, I realize it every day from the governor's point of view and St. Louis too. When you're trying to expand businesses, when you're trying to grow business, which is jobs for a lot of people, you got to be able to take care of the crime rate. If the crime rate's high, people are going to look at that from outside our state, and they're going to focus on, hey, this place is a terrible place to go, although it may be a confined area up there. But we got to deal with the crime rate. Just letting this go by day after day, people dying, and we're not doing all the tools we can, and that's why I did special session. I'm just saying, look, this is a real deal out here. We got to address the issue.
Is there something you've heard from some of those people that have been in the streets, some of the protesters, that you would agree with? Is there something that you've took from them that you can actually take and implement?
I think a lot of the things we're doing in special session, like 4 of those items I think come from the streets. These are what people were telling us to do. We met with the African American clergy up there. We met with law enforcement. We met with community leaders. The majority of those things come from the streets of what was doing, especially on the witness protection side of it. That was one of the big keys. Nobody wanted to testify in these violent crime, these violent neighborhoods. So we got to figure out some way to protect that. We know the federal witness protection works. We just got to implement it in the state.
Before I let you go, we're going to move on to the next segment. I'm just a simple hillbilly. You're the governor of Missouri. But I'll tell you, if I had a guy quit a job and leave me with flooding, pandemics, riots, protests, a budget mess, look back over his shoulder after he quit and call me a coward, I think I'd be a burr under my saddle. I seen your predecessor he just said you were a coward, and if I was you, that would rub me the wrong way if the guy that quit was calling me the coward. How'd it strike you?
Well, first of all, I represent the people of the state of Missouri, so I try to stay focused on that as governor of the state of Missouri. Anytime somebody personally attacks you on something like that is a cheap shot. That's all it is. And it's unfortunate that people would do that, but right now my focus is to be the governor of the state of Missouri. I can't worry about what everybody says all the time. I just try to do the best I can every day for the people of this state. And I'll go back to what I say all the time, I love this state and I love the people of the state, and I'm going to work hard for them every day.
Well, Governor, we got Todd Hayes and Mike Deering. Can you stick around one more segment with us?
Sure, if them guys are coming, I'll be glad to.
Well, we'll be right back here from the State Fairgrounds today. We'll talk a little politics with Todd Hayes with the Missouri Farm Bureau and Mike Deering with the Missouri Cattlemen Association after this.
Your energy needs are changing. That's why at Ameren, Missouri, we're not waiting on the future. We're building it with the Smart Energy Plan, advancing thousands of projects across the state, helping reduce emissions through cleaner energy sources, boost reliability with self-healing equipment, and better withstand storms with new composite poles. Moving Missouri forward and bringing us all a little closer together. That's energy at work. Ameren, Missouri.
Mike Parson served in law enforcement for 22 years. A former sheriff, Parson is tough on crime. Governor Parson is standing up for victims, investing in better mental health services, and cracking down on violent crime and drugs. Governor Parson's anti-crime initiatives have led to the arrests of hundreds of violent criminals and gang members. A former sheriff, a conservative, tough on crime governor. Mike Parson is making Missouri families safer.
Welcome back to This Week in Missouri Politics from the State Fairgrounds here in Sedalia. We're in the Governor Caulfield building. We have Mike Deering of the Missouri Cattlemen. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And we have Todd Hayes, the Vice President of Missouri Farm Bureau. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Scott. Glad to be here.
Running for president, Blake Hurst, the heralded guys retiring end of the year. You're going to run, right?
Yes, Blake announced a few weeks ago that he was going to retire at the end of this year. For our annual meeting, it will be an election, so I announced to the board of directors and a lot of our members that I'll be seeking that position. After serving on the board for about 17 years now, I have a good understanding of what's going on in our policy, the insurance companies, and what our members, all about them and what the products they produce around this state, and have a true appreciation for agriculture in Missouri. And my family is very dedicated to this, supporting me in that, and I'm looking forward to this opportunity to step into that role.
Good luck, Governor. Thank you for sticking around. Now we got Mike here. Scaled back fair this year. Gussie and I walked down to try to find out to see if there might be just one steak grill in there we might be able to grab, and it was a scaled back fair. I know that disappointed everybody.
Yeah, that is disappointing, but the most important thing is, we did have to scale back the fair, and the governor had to make that tough decision, but he kept the heart. The heart of the fair. That's our kids, that's our young people, that's the future of agriculture, that's the kids out there working hard and bringing their projects to town. So that's the heart of this fair.
But Todd, you go in the Coliseum right now, and you look at a kid that's worked all summer, been excited for this moment, and I mean, I know that when I think of the fair, there's a lot of other things that go on. But boy, you look at that kid that's brushing that cow, and that's really kind of where it hits home.
Oh, it is. You get to watching the families helping them hold the steer, get it ready, or back in the show barns. They're working. Everybody's working hard. The team or the kids are talking to their calves and getting them ready, walking them up, and just excited. Smiles on their faces, and it's like this is the culmination of the whole summer, is to be able to come here and participate and show the animals that they've worked so hard for all year.
And it's the aftermath of that too, the life lessons. I mean, these kids are going to be good citizens. They know how to win. They know how to lose with class. They have respect, hard work. They're the kind of people we need in our communities.
Governor, I heard Mark Wolf, the director of the fair, thank you specifically and thank the legislature specifically for some of the improvements. You could tell that maybe, Governor Nixon cared about state parks. You could tell maybe other governors cared about the urban core of the state. You could tell you care about the state fair, and you showed it by some of the improvements here.
Oh yeah, it's great to be part of this. But I care about all the state, all the categories you just mentioned. But the state fair, over 100 years old, it really represents who we are in this state when it comes to agriculture. It's our showcase. So you want to shine it up every once in a while. You can't do everything for it, but it's a great opportunity. The guys were just talking about these kids out there. I mean, you see a little sweat running down their faces and everything. I mean, they're working their little tail ends off to put this show on. And I think those are the kind of things that make it all worthwhile. And one of them looks up at you and grins and says, hey, thank you, Governor. It makes my day, I can tell you that.
Hayes, let me ask you a question. I know COVID's affected every part of Missouri, but it's affected agriculture in some unique ways. Tell me how the things are going on the farm.
You know, things are improving a little bit from early on in the spring when we really were impacted by COVID, primarily on the livestock and dairy industry, where the plants that would receive the animals or the milk didn't have the employees to process the product, and a lot of closures, killed what they were doing. So it then, in turn, the producers weren't able to move the products from the farm. We couldn't get pigs moved off the farm when we needed to at timely manners. I know dairy producers had issues with milk couldn't get moved. Cattle folks were having issues finding a place to go with cattle, and it just created a huge backlog of things in the supply chain. And then, since then, prices have kept declining to a certain impact, and so it's been a challenge in a lot of ways in there. And I hope through all this, the consumers, they worked through the issues where the grocery stores didn't have much on the shelves. They were struggling, like, where are we going to get this meat? Where are we going to get this? So through all that, I think things are back up online. There's plenty of food. There always has been plenty of pork or plenty of beef and cattle. We just didn't have the meat to get in the grocery store. But I hope the consumers understand it doesn't come just from the grocery stores. This comes from the farms. It comes from the farmers. And there's so many people in the industry and in our supply chain that has to do their job to get it there. And that we don't want to end up relying on another country to supply food to us in this United States. We want to make sure we've got it, we can do it. We just had a little hiccup in the chain. Things are improving. People understand how to do things with COVID, and we're improving on that. So hopefully we'll continue to get through this in a better way for the next years or so.
Mike Daring, it won't surprise anybody to know I like to eat. I am a good customer of your association's members. But where I saw the most acute problem in the food chain in Missouri was with cattle, was with beef. What is the status of the cattle? A farmer here that is a cattle farmer, can he get his meat processed into market right now?
That's still a challenge as far as being able for local processing. I know we took 3 head this morning to get processed, and they're booked out, some of them as much as a year to be booked out. But there's a lot of cool projects going on, innovation going on because of that. So there's plants being talked about in all regions of the state. So people are investing and they're getting ready to put some of those online. So that'll be exciting. And we need more processing.
Yeah, tell me about that, Governor. I've heard rumbles of this. I guess that's something Rob Dixon and his folks are working on. The innovation, I've heard many people try to innovate out of this.
Well, I don't think there's any question. We put a huge investment in it. The legislators did. We did this year to really improve those local meat processing plants across the state. They're going to be the key to the future, and they're going to be part of our economic development plan that we're going to try to maybe beef them up. We're going to try to make sure they get a little bigger. What we can do, make sure that technology is available, and we start taking care of ourselves, where we don't have to depend on the big manufacturers of that, the big plants, and we can kind of handle that ourselves. I think that's one thing the virus has taught us all a good lesson, is sometimes we get way too dependent, too comfortable on a lot of the people from outside our state or outside our country. The one thing we need to do is start taking care of one another and start investing really in our people in the state of Missouri and meet our own demands. And I think there's every opportunity, especially in the beef industry, we got a real opportunity to do that.
Governor, only gets a secret. There's probably some folks that may have cast a few Republican ballots sitting here in this barn right now, but how's the campaign going?
You know what? First 5 months, it's been we're being governor of the state of Missouri. I've really had to focus on that. We're starting to transition to that. Look, people's seen me out there quite a bit. They kind of know who I am. They're going to make that decision on that. The one thing I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be who I am every day. I'm going to work for the people of this state. Continue the message I did to start off with, workforce development, infrastructure, and again, just the love of the people and the love of this state. And I'm going to push forward, but we're going to do both. We're going to be able to handle a campaign, a virus, the economy, starting school back, being at the state fair. We'll be fine.
We're going to be bored, right?
No, I'm not bored. The worst part of it right now for the last bit, a bit family. It's been a tough road for them. I haven't been around grandkids and things like that. But again, they all realize the importance of hard work. And we're at that point right now where you got to go to work every day and you got to work hard on that.
My dear, tell me, I know a lot of your members. I don't know if I know a Democrat member. I'm sure they exist, but
we have them.
Out of your organization, it's going to be about, if you're talking about state politics, do Republicans hit their normal march? It's not about winning 51%. It may be about, can you win 70 or something? Where do you see politics? You get around the state quite a bit. Where do you see the state right now? Trump won 19 last time. I don't think that's realistic. Where do you think the president would be if they had to vote today?
I think we'll find out in November.
Well, I'm asking you to look in your crystal ball. Todd Hayes, I wanted to ask you, tariffs have been something that's rubbed a lot of Missouri farmers the wrong way. Did it rub them the wrong way enough they would consider voting for a Joe Biden, or did it just rub them the wrong way enough where they're going to be like, yeah, all right, I'll vote for him?
I think rubbed them enough. We're just going to continue on. We finally got an administration and a president that's willing to stand up for agriculture, look for different ways to improve upon trade. You know, we've got UMCA, new agreement with the Korea, Japan, working on some things with the UK. So all these things are great things that we're starting to get going on. So yeah, most farmers, they didn't like how it was going, how it was happening, but they really deep down believed it was something that needed to be done to improve upon pricing and exports, because that's what we got to rely on that so much to move the great products we produce in this country.
And when it comes to our members, we do have several Democrat members, but they'll be voting for President Trump, most of them. I mean, if agriculture is a focus, if reducing regulations, allowing people to operate without big government on your back, that's where they're going to turn. So I think in Missouri you're going to see very positive. I think you're going to see that for the governor as well.
Governor, you know Donald Trump personally at this point, as many times y'all been together. I do think that some folks wanted to see where he was going to go with the tariffs, but to getting there, you just talked about early childhood development as a cure for crime in the inner cities. That may take 20 years to see the benefits of. How long does it take from when they sign a trade deal to when a Missouri farmer sees a benefit?
Yeah, I think you'll see that in the near future. I think you'll really see that probably in that 3 to 4 year bracket where you really get to see some of that. But again, these are things that take time. It's hard to change those things to get them done, but it's all for the betterment of our state and better for a farmer. Let me just take you back, Scott, to January and February of this year, which seems like an eternity ago, to that. But look where we were at under the leadership of what was going on in our country under the president, what we was doing as governor of the state of Missouri. We had the lowest unemployment rate we ever had in the state of Missouri. We were funding education at the highest level it's ever been. We had businesses expanding. We had people that were in job training all the way from out of high school, preparing our kids to go into the workforce, and the demand was there. What it does tell you, what the president, what our policies were working. We know that. We were working before this virus hit, and we can get back to that. But, look, farmers, I'm telling you, I've been one all my life, and if I take my political hat off, you're going to vote for the people that take care of you, that really understand who you are, what you represent, and they care about you. That's who you're going to vote for at the end of the day as farmers.
A lot of this state votes Republican, especially in the State House. There's some issues that the ag community's brought to bear. Been very successful. There was some of the counties are trying to, I guess before they was trying to get you to wear a mask, they was trying to cut your farm up at the county courthouse, some of them. You were very successful in overturning that. Now there's a talk about biodiesel. Is that something that's going to happen this year, Mike Deering?
Todd would probably be better to answer that than me on the biodiesel front. But
I think we were pretty encouraged going on early in the session this year. We had a lot of support for that. But as things changed with the COVID and how the later, the House and everybody could meet with committees and all, it just kind of fell a little bit short right at the end, but we feel like there's a good, strong possibility.
Governor, you got a large majority of the majority is from rural Missouri. Now, they may have elect city slickers to be in leadership in the legislature, but I wonder if they hold them accountable and if they send you a biodiesel bill, will you sign it?
Yeah, I think we'll see what that looks like. I'm always hesitant to say what I'll sign until I see what it looks like. I've been around long enough to know you don't get one just that simple, that bill alone.
And I figured that one especially
got 37 provisions in it, so I'll wait and see what shows up on my desk.
I think if I'd take the over/under how many provisions it would take to get that done, it's probably the over of 37.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think it'll be that simple to answer here on your show. I don't think it's that easy.
Well, when you decide, maybe you come back and tell us.
All right, we'll do that once I see the bill.
Mike Deering, what's your favorite part about the fair here?
I tell you, the heart of the fair, like I said earlier, the kids. That's my favorite part of the fair, for sure. Talking
about the current state of agriculture, though, a lot of the Missouri farmer is aging. That is an aging population. Is that a concern?
That's a big. I get asked all the time what I feel like what the biggest concern to Missouri agriculture is, and you hear animal rights groups, you hear the knowledge gap, you hear all these things, but my answer is always the same, the aging farmer. If we do not repopulate the land with the next generation, our future is in danger. I mean, the average age is 58, almost 60, less than 5% are 35 years old or younger. That's a scary statistic. And it just doesn't impact rural Missouri. I mean, that's our consumers. You're talking about getting more food from other countries, from other places. That will be a reality if we do not repopulate the land with new farmers and ranchers.
Well, there ain't no steak at the Capitol Grill on the Plaza or at Bruce Chris in Clayton, Missouri without a Missouri farmer growing cattle.
Absolutely.
Governor, when you talk with Chris Chin and your folks, is that something that comes up about the Missouri farmer is an aging population.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you guys are talking about, aging population, but anyhow, I don't know who you're referring to there. But let me just say, when you see what you're seeing here at the State Fair, and you see generations here that our grandpas used to show here, my parents showed here, and you hear that theme, we don't see very much of that anymore. That's the very selected few that you see that anymore. These FFA students, these agriculture students we have all across the state, that is the future, and we got to make sure that they're willing to tell that story. And yes, we got to deal with that, but we got to help them. We got to help them in business agriculture. We got to do a lot of things for education. We got a lot to do things to keep them home, but we got to have farmers out there. You got to have people that gets their hands dirty, get grease on them, knows how to use plier and baling wire, and move on to the next job.
And that ties right back in, though, the workforce development to your career and technical education. It's not just college, it's career and technical schools and coming back and learning how to farm. So.
Give me a memory from the fair.
Probably some of my best memories from today being here is just watching the families.
Yeah.
Moms and dads with kids, grandparents, some grandparents here, but just the little brothers and sisters helping one another, carrying the water, splashing around. Haven't got down to the hog barns, the sheep barns, but I know it's very similar down there. It's just families involved, people smiling and working hard and finishing what they started earlier in the year by being able to bring a project to the fair.
You know, Governor, one of the things I found most interesting about the fair was you came to office in June of a year. It wasn't the circumstance where you'd have a big inaugural ball or anything. It felt like really the state fair was the inauguration. It was folks, members of the foundation, Commissioner David, just folks that are here every year, having a person from their part of the state be there as governor of Missouri. It was a special day. What was something, memory you kind of have rattling around about the state fair?
Just humble to start off with, just humble to be the governor representing all the people that were there that day, and all the great things they said, and was very complimentary of the job and want me to be in that position representing them. You know, the one thing you always get at the state fair is you get values. You get those family tradition values. You just get good, hardworking people trying to do the right thing every day. And I'll go back to the old days where we talked about being good neighbors. And that's what you get here at the state fair. And that just needs to spread throughout our state, needs to spread throughout our country. Those values do to make us all better. But anytime you're a farmer, anytime you're the governor of the state of Missouri and you're representing the people here, I'm humbled every day.
Governor, thank you for joining us. Todd Hayes, Farm Bureau, thank you very much. Mike Deering, I love watching the passion you advocate for agriculture with. Thank you for joining us here.
Absolutely.
I got a big announcement to make. In lieu of Who Won the Week, we're going to say Robert and Sheila Hayden from Sedalia came in and gave the beautiful flagpole. Next year when you're here, you're going to see it as you drive up. It is a really pretty way, kind of a gateway to the fair. But our announcement is, starting right after Labor Day, September 5th, our show's getting moved up. We got promoted from 11 o'clock to 9 o'clock in St. Louis, going right after George Stephanopoulos on Sunday morning. So thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in, sharing it on Facebook, or retweeting something we've done. It's been very good for us, and we're very excited to move up in the morning. So reset your DVR in September for 9 o'clock with This Week in Missouri Politics.
This Week in Missouri Politics, sponsored by the Missouri Association of Career Fire Protection Districts, Spire, and Sterling Bank.